Well, hello everybody. This is take two, the electric boogaloo of the Missing Wolves post-game live stream podcast thing. Two recordings in a row where the podcast version of this is going to get some lovely banter between me and Ryan Eichten, who is joining me from CanisHoopus. How's it going, man?
Good. I think you're just click farming. You're trying to get people to tune in live, go to YouTube, tune in the podcast so they don't miss out. Like, I see what you're doing. You're all right.
I mean, that truly is what it is. Like, if everyone that's listening to this on X could just go to YouTube and subscribe, that would be dope for yours truly's media career. But click farming tonight. If you listen to the audio version, there is going to be an abrupt cutoff while I'm trying to figure out how many points Memphis scored. But if you weren't listening to if you're tuning into the live stream, hello, welcome. This is us. I'm Andrew from Zone Coverage, professional as always. Ryan's joining me after a Wolves 131-114 win over the Memphis Grizzlies, and we were talking about a little bit before we actually started recording. Just a professional outing. Like, this looked like a professional basketball team tonight. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, just like a straightforward win that is going to lend us probably to talking more about the trade fiasco coming up next week. But impressive is the wrong word, but like just a nice solid win. One that like if you're going to win 50 games, hopefully closer to like 55, there's going to be a couple dozen of them where it's just you barely remember them. They come through your life and you have a nice time watching basketball, and they come and go. But Memphis, just half of their roster is out, and they weren't really a good team to begin with. But second night of a back-to-back for them. Wolves, they just had no one to guard Randall, who is awesome. They had no one to guard Ant, who is even more awesome. One stat as I'm looking at Ant a little bit, we talk about ethical hoops, right? Like thinking back to the last game against, it was a fairly unethical outing from Ant in that sort of way. I thought he had a lot of those, and we don't need to like to have a broader officiating talk, right? But like 14 of 16 from the line, a lot of them were like he was going for him. But a solid outing from him as well. Only 1 of 6 from 3, but was just nails from the mid range. Got to the rim a couple times to draw those free throws. And then Nas continues to play extraordinarily well off the bench. And everyone else, aside from Dante, nearly fouled out. Everyone else was more than solid. Mike had a couple blocks. That was nice to see in his homecoming to Memphis. I want to like go memorize is who is the leading scorer for all 30 franchises. Well, Mike is the answer for Memphis. So I'm sure it was nice for him to get out there and play where he was drafted.
Yeah, you know how in football, when a cornerback starts getting older, they move him to safety. Maybe we just got to move Mike to the low man and let him be a rim protector. Seemed pretty good at it tonight. He would probably get broken in half if he did that. But yeah, Mike had a good game. Dante, I thought, was great. Ant's mid-range is just like he has that kind of pullback move where he just creates space and just kind of daggers it at will. He also hit at least one post fadeaway that he's been working on. Like it's now when the 3 ball isn't falling, he just has these like second and third options he can go to. I mean, I'm not willing to say like Ant is the best player in the league yet, but like his offensive development this season has been pretty ridiculous, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, last year he added the 3-point shot. Obviously, he was making them before, but like he leads the league in 3-pointers last year, and he said in the preseason that year, like that was his focus was his 3-point shot. And then this last offseason, it was about the mid range. And I think a lot of us kind of worried that would dominate his shot diet. And there's been nights where I've kind of felt like, hey, you're not getting to the rim enough. You're probably not shooting enough threes. And maybe tonight qualifies for that. Although 14 of 16 from the line kind of indicate that he was getting to if you like go look at his rim free field goals, it's because he was shooting those at the line. But certainly come playoff time, he's going to need that shot. And it's been just absolute butter for him. Especially of late. In that, like he had one in this game where he tried to shoot it off the backboard, which is like what was his old move a couple of years ago, and it was just like nowhere close. It's like just stick to stick to the just shooting it right at the rim. But yeah, he's been just incredible from the mid range, and it's getting to the point where it's just like, I don't know what you do to guard him. And I guess with this current Wolves roster, the answer is you don't, and you try to send two to the ball. Memphis wasn't really doing that. They were doing that plenty, but it wasn't as hard as like a lot of other teams do. And the key for the Wolves, obviously, it's just like the first key is like, how good can Anthony Edwards be? And past this 4-game winning streak has been all thumbs up on that. But like a bigger picture, it's like the next question is like, how good can when the Wolves bring, or when the opposing defense brings two to the ball, how good can everyone else be around him? And in the playoffs last year, especially against Oklahoma City, they weren't good enough. And I guess the goal we've seen of late, they've been good enough. And when we talk about non-Giannis related trade deadline stuff, that'll be is trying to find someone off the bench that when you're not in the starting five look, that can attack the basket.
Yeah, it's been interesting how he handles those double teams now too, because like his handle just seems, and again, like Ant comes back from the summer and he kind of brags about what he's worked on. Like, yeah, I worked on dribbling, I worked on the mid range, want to get better at the rim again. His handle is just, he's not getting that ball poked away like he was last year in Oklahoma City. He's able to kind of like, whether it's like backpedal a little bit with the ball to get a better pass, or even like split doubles to get a pass. I think he is to that point, to your credit. Like, he's unguardable. I mean, a 40% 3-point shooter that is above average at the mid range, above average at the rim. He can get free throws. He's a ridiculous athlete. His passing has gotten significantly better. It is interesting watching this Memphis game though, because I agree with you. Like, they didn't send two at the ball as much as Oklahoma City did, or as much as like Houston and San Antonio when we watched those games, what, about a week and a half ago. Like, Memphis really did try to just like one-on-one guard him with their best guy out there. A lot of times it was like Jalen Wells, and Ant just torched him. Like, it might be to the point now where it's just, you just can't single coverage Ant.
Yeah, and they don't really, with given their injury, they don't really have the personnel at the exact moment to run the other coverage either. So it's just kind of one of those things where you probably just, on the second night of back-to-back for them, you just go with the less strenuous option, which is single cover him and probably rotate people through. And you, I mean, I don't know if Memphis is in the point where they're kind of more interested in losing games than winning games. I'm sure they're kind of neutral on that. They're probably more interested in just playing their guys. And if you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. So be it. But like, there's games earlier. Well, 12 months ago, Ant was in a completely different spot with all of this. I remember the biggest one was, well, there was a game at Memphis where he was really poor down the stretch, but it was a home game against Boston where he was just like totally befuddled by what other teams were doing. And it's been a while, but it's been night and day with that coverage. And for a player of his stature, that's like one thing that stood out to me in this game. It was just like a professional outing against a bad team. One that, like, we've seen plenty Ant and the rest of the team like just take other teams not serious. And while, like, obviously, again, we talk about there's good nights and bad nights. We're not like, through an 82 game schedule, you're expected to have a couple flops, right? But like, do I think they had high energy tonight? Probably not. But like, it was 90% of what you'd want. And against a team like Memphis, like, that's plenty. And from Ant specifically, it was just like absolutely like professional outing, just got to his spots, made his shots, was scored when he needed to, got off the ball when he needed to. Just like the type of, as a playoff player, Ant has been doing sensational things, MVP like things for a while, but in the regular season, he is just not the same type of player night in and night out. And so like a game like tonight, when you're trying to get a top 3 seed, which would be incredibly valuable in the Western Conference, like, these are the type of games you hope, obviously, like the games where he's just like 50 points, like the one where he tried to beat San Antonio by himself, are great. But also, like, from regular season standpoint, these are the type of games from Ant that you really like to see, because it's just like, it doesn't take much against a team like this. Like, like I thought, like, coming out of halftime where they're up 9, I thought it was a really good sign that they went up by like 15, 16. Like, just put them away. You can cruise, you can screw around with the last 5 minutes or whatever and still win by almost 20.
Well, and I mean, they started with. Again, I'd kind of agree with you. I don't think their energy was like Oklahoma City level energy. Like you can just tell in their like on ball defense, like, oh, they're locked in tonight when that energy is up. But like, I don't know. Ant puts 12 in the first quarter. Julius puts 9 in the first quarter. You know, Ant has a couple assists. Like the ball's actually moving when he's touching it, and like it almost seemed like they kind of broke the will of Memphis pretty early on. And then, like you said, they come out of halftime, build the lead up to 20, and then are able to just, I think Finch would have probably liked it if he could have played more of the end of the bench guys earlier, but they do just kind of like coast to the end of the game. Like it's what we ask every time they play a worse team, which they're going to have another crack at it on Monday, because they have a day off, and then it's Memphis on Monday.
And you'd imagine Memphis plays their guys that were not in this game, so it'll be a little bit less of a crap show.
Right. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, then they go up to Toronto. Toronto is a place I think everybody kind of knows. They haven't won
there. I looked this up. They haven't won there since January 21st, 2004. So more than 22 years.
Not ideal, I would say. Kevin Garnett was probably on that team, so
correct.
Not great.
They have won a road game against. The weird fact is they have won a road game against Toronto during that span down in Tampa.
Yep, during the COVID pandemic, where Toronto didn't want NBA players coming to their city unvaccinated, which fair. I mean, Toronto is like a capable NBA team, though. Like they're going to be a probably top 5, top 6 seed playoff team. I think we can learn some stuff from that, but it is just really interesting how this Wolves team it's every week, right? Like a week ago, we would be sitting here saying, literally a week ago, we were sitting here, they're on a 4-game losing streak and they need to go in and beat Golden State. A week later, they've won 4 in a row. And it's like, okay, well, what's this team actually have to like work on when it's so kind of up and down? It kind of leads me to, I do want to talk trades. And before we get into trades, I'm going to run a couple ads here, but if anyone in the chat does want to ask about specific players, throw out specific trades, feel free. If not, we're going to just kind of go through Giannis and the big ones that are out there. But first, ad reads while we're waiting for some people to comment. Well, hello. Thank you, Livestream Andrew. This is Ad Read Andrew. And today we have Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, the presenting sponsor for the Missing Links podcast. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling strives to inspire people to follow their ideas, working with respect and understanding to create a quality, tailored result. Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, located in Blaine and serving in the North Metro area, is here to help you with your building and remodeling needs. I can say personally, thanks to Firehawk Construction and Remodeling, I have a beautiful deck in my backyard, and countless projects that I started, they finished. Get started on your new deck or remodel today by calling Isaac at 763-710-5686. And we're back with another ad read. This time for Pence Homes, the presenting sponsor of Hitting the Hardwood Network. From the best tools and technology to transparency throughout the entire process, Nate Pence and the Pence Homes team is the top choice for buyers, sellers, and is proud to support you and your home ownership goals. Get started today by calling 612-308-1122 or by emailing info@pencehomes.com. Real quick housekeeping. Nate Pence is still doing food deliveries and food drives in the Twin Cities and surrounding areas. If you want to donate money, donate boxed goods, canned goods, non-perishable foods, feel free to email info@pencehomes.com or reach out to them on Blue Sky, Twitter, or Instagram. They are always taking donations to kind of help the community out as everyone is still going through some craziness here in Minnesota. If you also want to deliver or help shop or things like that, I know he's also looking for volunteers that way as well. So feel free to email or reach out to him on those. Any help is appreciated. Ryan, let's get into some trade things though. And first, I'm just going to clear the air a little bit. I posted the video of Jaden McDaniels talking about how much he loves Minneapolis, and a lot of people commented to that of like, "Oof, he's really trying not to get traded." I'm just gonna say, I asked him that question because Jaden has done a ton of stuff in the Minneapolis community, surrounding areas. He does a lot of charity work in complete darkness because he hates media at his events. He let me come to like 2 of them over the 3 years I've been covering this team up close. He does a lot more than that, though. And really, the reason for asking that question is, one, a lot of stuff going on in the Minneapolis area. And 2, like, I'm kind of just compiling quotes from dudes to put like an end of the season story together of like the relationship with the players in the city. So it's not like Jaden was sitting there. We came up to him and he's like, "Oh my gosh, I love this city. Please don't trade me." I do think that's how he feels, but I don't think he would just like do it that way. That being said, though, Giannis is still the big A topic. I mean, Ryan, I guess we talked a little bit at the last home game against the Warriors, but or not the Warriors. They play last. Oh my gosh, I am just losing my mind. OKC, the last home game against OKC. But like, have your feelings changed at all, or are you still kind of do whatever you can to get Giannis?
Whatever you can is obviously isn't necessarily like trading the entire roster obviously be bad, but yeah. I'm closer to the camp of like, I like, this is an opportunity to go get a guy that can almost guarantee you, or not guarantee, but like right now there's a clear step behind OKC and Denver. I think that's clear. And there's a lot of other teams that are in there, like kind of tier in just the Western Conference, whether it be Houston or San Antonio. And I think this would, I do think whatever, if you're trying to get Giannis, it might have like an effect where you're making this year a little bit tougher. But I look through, I kind of went through how many times has an NBA team had 2 of the 6, 7, 8 best guys in the league. And the only one I could like, just thinking off the top of my head, LeBron and Anthony Davis, I think from 2020 fit that boat. AD, if people are, Anthony Davis was like a top 10 player in the league during that stretch of time.
Completely agree.
Especially in the bubble. Like he was when his jump shot was falling like that, he was an unstoppable player. KD and Steph in Golden State. I miss LeBron and Wade in Miami. Certainly Shaq and Kobe, like Magic and Kareem. I'm probably missing other, but like when you have 2 of the, like you just win titles. The only one that didn't would be like Durant and Westbrook. And free agency got in the way of that. And so if you're trading for Giannis, you're probably signing him to an extension where you're going to have him and Ant on the books for the next 5-6 years. But to get down to the nitty gritty of it, I mean, basically it seems like, and we'll get more reporting from people that are more connected than you and I about what the package would look like if indeed the Wolves are real players and not just like whatever they're listening to offers or whatever the heck. But it seems like Jaden McDaniels and Julius Randle would be like would automatically be in there. You're just not getting Giannis without him. And then it's probably going to have to be you'd probably throw Rob in there because like why not? But like I think you're also going to have to
the vending machine refill of Gatorade.
I mean, he trade him to Milwaukee. Why not? Like he doesn't have negative value on it on a rookie deal. But you're also looking at trading Nas. I think you're not going to gather enough picks by trading. I think the reason why Jaden needs to be in the deal is less because of his $24 million contract. It's more because that is like the Wolves blue chip in terms of picks. I think you could get multiple picks. If you're trading him to say Portland, that makes the most sense. You're getting back 2 of Milwaukee's picks, plus probably another first, or I don't know. That's like the main trip. So you're rerouting those picks to Milwaukee. Julius is probably the same thing. Wouldn't end up in Milwaukee. He's going to a different team. You're getting picks from a different team. Maybe they'd be interested in Nas, but like it'd be very, very complicated. But like, if the only players going out are Julius, Jaden, Nas, and Rob, and you're keeping Gobert, you're keeping Berenger, Giannis is the type of player I think you do that for. And there are fair pushbacks, absolutely fair pushbacks. you're gutting your team. It'd probably require in the offseason trading Rudy Gobert to try to get a couple extra players. You're probably taking back a player or two. So you'd probably get Drew Holiday, I'd imagine, from Portland in this type of trade. Help a lot. Maybe you're getting Kuzma from Milwaukee. I'd have to really dig down to the numbers of the salary cap. Obviously Kuzma is it wouldn't really move me obviously there. And then maybe at the deadline as well, you're trading Mike if you'd be in a lot more of, or maybe you'd want to keep Mike because you're trading a lot of pieces. I get it. I just think Giannis is so good that you have to really, really, really think about it. And the other fair pushback would be like, you are trading two of Ant's buddies. Ant's really good friends in Julius Randle, in Naz Reid and Jaden McDaniels. I understand this is easier said than accomplished, but Giannis might be good enough where you just kind of tell him, hey man, you gotta it's a business. It's a business as much as Ant knows that. So, but if Ant is something that if Ant doesn't want to do that, then you're probably not going to do it either. But Giannis is an MVP. Ant would be the second best player on this team. I
know that's wild to think of, but he would. Giannis
is that good. I think it would make this team better in the short term, maybe not the immediate short term, but next season, the year after, the Wolves would ascend into damn near title favorites. And I get if fans are just like, hey, maybe it does make him better, but I enjoy these guys. I know I felt that way with Cat, a trade that has for sure worked out for the Wolves, but also especially as we watch what's happening in our city with ice and all of that, I damn sure would still love to have Cat on this team for that same reason. So I get if fans are pushing back against that, as it seems like they are in the chat of hey, no, these are my buddies. I want to write it out with the guys I've fallen in love with or whatever. I get that. I'm just saying if you're wanting to be a cold-hearted basketball person, this is a trade I would pursue. And ultimately, I don't think, if you want to ask me what I think will happen, I think these teams will not gather enough value to trade for Giannis. They'll go in the offseason, and one of Oklahoma City, San Antonio, and Houston will go, oh, our team isn't good enough. And they'll have the picks and the players to go get him. And that's probably the last thing I'll say of why you should think about doing this is so Houston, OKC, and San Antonio can't. Because if Giannis ends up on one of those teams, that you're looking at a big, huge stretch here where basically the rest of Ant's almost his prime, where you're not going to be title favorites, which is also something you got to consider.
Yeah. What I will add to it first, pack mentality. This is Nasty Works, and Teresa is, if I can just guess, the thumbs downs is essentially boo. I mean, I agree with you, and Phil Mackey and I talked about it after the Thunder game of just if this Wolves team is, hey, our window is now and we can get Giannis and 2 out of the top, I would even go further. I'd say 2 out of the top 6. My top 6 players right now in order are Jokic, Shea, Giannis, Luka, Tatum still, because when Tatum comes back, I think that guy's going to be a flamethrower again, and then Ant. So you have 2 of the top 6 players that just inherently it's going to give you a chance every year for the rest of Giannis's career. I think that's, like you said, the kind of cold-hearted basketball side of it is if Tim Connolly's looking at this, we want to win a ring, we want to kick this into overdrive, that's the trade. My pushback to Phil that I brought up is I think it was actually pack mentality. Brought it up in the chat last time of the power of friendship that this team has, where Ant, Jaden, and Naz are actually real life friends. They have this chemistry with Rudy now where we're seeing Jaden throw him lobs and Ant at least pretend not to see Rudy in the lane this last game. And then Julius has been an all NBA caliber player. So right now you're looking at a team that's built well enough, pretty connected from a chemistry standpoint, and kind of knows how to win games. I don't know what the answer is. I'll say my, last off season when they were talking about trading Julius for Kevin Durant, or they were talking about doing these different deals, I was kind of I'd rather just see this through and just see what it looks like, and let's keep things together, right? And then that's kind of my ultimately my vibe right now is I just want to see what this end of the season looks like. Does Jaden continue to kind of grow into this new role? Does Julius perform better in the playoffs? Like, what happens? And ultimately, I don't think Giannis is going to go at the deadline. Like, from Milwaukee's standpoint, the amount of picks, the amount of players, the amount of like wiggle room they'll have in the offseason to trade him, like Giannis would have to like really make it untenable for them to feel they have to move him right now. I mean, the last thing I would just add is like, I'm not so sure you would have to trade Jaden and Nas if Julius can get like a blue chip back. Like I've floated out on X of like Julius goes to Atlanta and like Risha Shea goes to Milwaukee. Like if they're still high on him, Julius goes to, name another team, and like a 2-year ago lottery pick goes back with Rob, with one of Nas or Jaden, and kind of gives them like this new core. But that's like a big if, because that's relying on a third team feeling that Julius has so much value that they're willing to just completely punt on a young player, which is tough. Pack mentality and Teresa both mentioned the injury issue with Giannis. I would say that was when we were all sitting up there watching the Thunder games, that was kind of my pushback of like, I'm not a big fan of like the dude's low back, calf, ankle, and foot injuries. I think, Ryan, when we were watching the Thunder game, you brought up a good point of like Giannis has played 60 games every year of his career and like is not 30 yet, or just turned 30, 31. So if they sign him to a 5-year deal, you're getting him at 36. Like that 36-year-old Giannis is still probably incredible, I would assume, unless like the injuries really take him off. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, with any 30+ year player, you're not going to get 70+ games, or at least that shouldn't be the expectation. I think your point, if you're able to keep Nas, I think like I would do this 10,000 times out of 10,000. I think that alleviates like your Anthony. Obviously, Ant would be, I don't know what word you'd be disappointed to see Jaden go. But if it's just Jaden, I think like at that point you really can be like, hey man, that's just what this is like. But if it's Jaden and Nas, I would understand like maybe like that'd be a little bit tougher on him. But if you're able to keep Nas, I think Nas would just play extremely well with a team centered around Ant and Giannis. I think Nas as like your starting, who knows who's the center, like played Nas and Giannis as your 4 and 5. Maybe Nas is technically the center. Who the hell cares at that point? It doesn't. It's kind of like with who's the point guard, Ant or Dante. It's Ant. It doesn't matter. Obviously you'd really need a wing player. Without Jaden, you're kind of just out of wing players. You'd probably, I think at that point, maybe you're really looking at Mike. Like, let's trade Mike for a solid starting wing caliber player. If you're able to trade, like get off that, or maybe Rudy, maybe a team would really covet Rudy and you'd look at also trading Rudy. But now I'm talking about trading like 3/5 of the starting rotation, and you're throwing a lot into upheaval there. But yeah, if you're
historically has not gone well.
If you're able to keep Nas, which I'm kind of dubious that if you want him at the deadline, like it feels like that's like it's going to hurt. Trading for Giannis is going to hurt. I think if you're keeping Nas, you're probably sending out, if you can convince a team or just the Bucks on Berenger. I think Berenger would be another player. My only worry would
Clark too. Like, there's enough
I don't think so.
I
think you'd probably be able to keep Clark. Maybe you could convince the team on Terrence Shannon or something like that. But
sure. Yeah.
If you're getting proper value for Berenger, as in like whatever, like like what I think a lot of us think, Hunter just traded to the Kings, so that would have been a theoretical
for Schroeder and Keon Ellis, which
Keon
Ellis has been my guy that I've been kind of like, he's there with guy from Philadelphia whose name I'm blanking on, but Keon Ellis is a guy I was like, yeah, you'd be really good on the Wolves. But
I don't think
your thought, Ryan.
The Wolves weren't going to trade as good a piece as Hunter to get him though.
Yeah.
I think if you're able to get proper value for Berenger, which is like what we think he can be, and that's able to, if you're able to keep Nas because you let go of Berenger, I think that would make a lot of sense. It sucked for the French kid to kind of get passed around, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm more in the camp of kind of do what you can to get Giannis, but I also agree with you that I would guess it won't happen. And if it gets to the offseason, I just think there's going to be teams that are going to be able to outbid the Wolves. If Giannis is on the Wolves next Saturday, or a week from this Thursday, excuse me. If that happens, I think what it will be is that Giannis basically pushes for it, either for to be on the Wolves specifically, or just to get traded by the deadline, and gives a list of teams, which it appears like the Wolves would be on. The reason why I think that is plausible is that if he gets traded now, in the offseason, he'll be eligible for the full big giant supermax with the new team, because you got to be on that team for 6 months. So the Wolves could wait 6 months from now into the offseason. They could do that. But if not, if he's traded in the offseason, the new team will not be able to give him the big fat extension. It'll be a lesser extension, which I'm not good enough with the cap, but I know it'd be tens of millions of dollars he'd be missing out on. So I think that'd be the one. If you do see it, it'll be Giannis pushing to get traded and probably saying, I'm only going to sign an extension with like 2 teams or 3 teams. And it's gonna be like only with the Knicks and the Wolves. And then the bidding war would come down to the Wolves and the Knicks, and the Wolves might lose that, to be honest, not because just because I think the Knicks would end up being more desperate than the Wolves, which we've kind of broken down why that would be the case. The Knicks would probably have to trade all 3 of Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Cat. Maybe not Cat. I don't know. Cat's contract is kind of bad, and it's a good example of why the Wolves is not off it.
For what he's putting up this year.
If the Knicks trade for Giannis and Cat is in the deal, maybe they win the Cat trade then. Like that's like, oh, you win.
I mean, a lot of people in the chat are just bringing up, like, I cannot wait for the deadline to be over. It's stressful. This is too much. I don't like gutting the team. Facts, I'd agree with this. I'd rather get a bench player more than Giannis, Nat says. Like, I think Giannis, I think if it comes down to Giannis is pushing his way out, and it is like Miami, Minnesota, and the Knicks. Like,
Miami doesn't have anything to trade, man. They're
right, but Giannis wants to go to Miami. Like that's been like.
But the Bucks are gonna say screw you then. Like they just.
Oh, absolutely.
You're not getting Giannis. Tyler Hero.
For Tyler Hero.
You're not getting Tyler Hero. You tried to do that with Dame. You didn't get him. Like, I'm sorry, and it applies to Golden State too. Sorry, you don't get Jimmy. You don't get to get Giannis for Jonathan Kuminga, who you're not playing, and Jimmy Butler with only a single ACL. Like you don't. I get that you have picks, but like, and to be honest, there's probably like a Bucks podcast that's doing the same thing to us on the Knicks. So it's totally fair. Yeah. Like you're not getting Giannis for whatever poo-poo platter us and the Knicks are throwing out there too. And I get that, but it's like, that's just why it's going to get to the off season.
So Nat says, I'm sorry, I'm being biased. I love Jaden way too much, and he has been awesome. That is ultimately where my opinion lands. And I said it to you in Sneaker Reporter at the Thunder game of like, I think Ant and Jaden are the only 2 that are untouchable. Like Jaden, I think, still has about another 30% to get better at. And I think if they're going to trade Jaden, that's Ant, we're going to trade Jaden. And then it's up to Ant to say yay or nay. Because I know there's like the Ant and Cat had a really good relationship. Like Ant and Jaden's relationship is different. Like there's this
is like the only guy you're trading Jaden for. It's the only. I mean, obviously, the Lakers got Luka for a bag of chips. And speaking of one ACL, like, but like, yeah, there isn't anyone that's going to become available in the next 50. Or in the next like 5 years that you'd trade Jaden for. Like this is it. So like the minute the deadline passes, Jaden can relax.
I just think if there's a deal that's about to go through and Jaden is the center, like Jaden's going to Milwaukee or Jaden's going to a different place for 3 picks. Like that's we have to talk to Ant about it before pulling the trigger. Whereas the Cat trade seemed like it was a more of a let's get Cat out of here and then explain it to Ant type of thing. And like if Jaden gets traded out,
Ant had a great relationship with Cat. It's not the same as like with him and Jaden and Nas. At least that's what from the outside, from what I've seen.
I mean, from being in the locker room, from how they interact with each other, talk to each other, like I agree. So I do think, we're talking a lot about this trade as if it's happening. I would still say it's far more likely Giannis is just on the Bucks and it goes into the off season, and then Oklahoma City trades Jalen Williams, Kaysen Wallace, and Mitchell and 17 picks.
I don't think they have to give up that many players.
Huh?
I don't think they have to give up that many players. Like, I think it'd just be like Hartenstein and Ryan. Just their 30 picks.
I mean, that's probably what's going to happen, but let's tell the Bucks we'll give him Julius and Rob.
You'll get Julius and Gobert and you'll like it.
Enjoy the front court. Have fun. Let's talk about more like the role players, just to catch up on a couple other like random chats that I saw come through here though. Someone asked, why did Dante only get 17 minutes? Foul trouble, and they just didn't need him is kind of Clark was playing good enough. Iceberg says Ant gets a superstar whistle for once in his life, and dude on the right brings up unethical hoops.
Dude on the right. I should change my like Twitter profile to dude on the right.
Just dude on the right.
Although I don't like the political implications of that, so never mind. Scratch that.
Yeah, I don't know. You might get a different following on Twitter if you do that one. And Blue Sky, you might just get banned. Ann is the one person on the court who can make Jaden get Jaden going, get him believing in himself. All of the Jaden needs to believe in himself stuff. Yeah, like Ant is the guy that can hype Jaden up kind of at will, it seems like. So Keon Ellis moved. What are kind of your targets that you're maybe not like hoping for the Wolves to trade for? Because I always feel like it, when you're covering the team, like we shouldn't be like, oh man, I hope they trade Dante. But like, who are the guys that you think could make like the biggest impact if they were to get moved to Minnesota?
Yeah, I instead of talking about like specific players, I like to talk about it like in terms of salary of like the type of guy you can get. So there's like 3 types of salary, and we've talked about the first one, which is Giannis, and it's really the only type of player where I think they trade any of their top 6 guys, right? Like there isn't anyone available that you're trading any of the 5 starters or not. So the next level is, are you willing to part with Mike Conley? I kind of think more than general consensus that they would, if they found the right player, that they'd be willing to part with Mike Conley. I think the goal right now, I think it's fine that they're playing Mike. Like they just don't really have a lot of options. Although I will say in that OKC game, the with Mike out, the rotation kind of clarified itself a lot. I thought a big reason why Bones plays well with Ant is out, and so I think this applies here too. When Mike is out, Bones is his rotation, his role clarifies itself a little bit more. Although Bones is, I don't think your 8th man. I don't think Bones would play much in the playoffs, but that's the same with Mike Conley. But if you're willing to trade Mike, and I think it's not that
real quick. Can I just to interrupt you really quick? Are your postseason rotation, I'll be honest, I think their plan is Mike is not playing in the postseason. Like I think if Mike is playing more than 4 minutes a game, like this has gone awry. But is it starting 5 Nas and that's kind of it? Is that where you're kind of sitting for postseason as well?
I think it'll be 6.5. It'll be if they feel like they have a right matchup with Bones in that half. If they feel like Jalen Clark has a matchup with the Bones, or with the for the half a rotation spot. I bet if Shannon comes back healthy, they'll probably try him out in the regular season just to see if he can kind of give you a little bit of that. Obviously, with how he looked when previous to going out, that I would expect that not to in the short term work out. Still don't see a need to give up on Terrence past the season. Berenger maybe just like these are like it'll be a 6-man rotation, and it'll be like a half of just like, who in this matchup can we find? We saw, I think like a good example of this was like they did against Oklahoma City. They just didn't play Berenger, which I thought was fine. But like tonight they played him against Memphis. It's a matchup thing. But yeah, I think it's going to be like 6.5. And Nas's minutes will just get yanked up to like 30 plus, which is also kind of reason you probably want to start trying to sprinkle him in next to like the other two bigs, but the Wolves seem unwilling to do that.
So continue with your previous thought of just like where they would target salary wise and position wise.
Yeah. So if they're willing to trade Mike Conley, which again, I don't know. Here's what I would say is that you need to have, it's not that you can't trade Mike or like it's still business. Like you are more than welcome. You are more than able to trade a player that is on your roster. But you can't just send him to Siberia. It's just a bad look. So I think you need to work with the team that you're sending. If you decide to trade Mike, or if you find a player that's worth it, basically a player in the general salary range of like, 17 to $10 million, you're going to have to use Mike's contract. You either need to make sure that like he's going to a team that he wants to be at, or that he's going to get bought out by that team so he can go sign with, say, Denver, or Memphis. If he wants to go that route, I would kind of assume he'd more go like the Denver route of trying to play a bit role on a title contending team. So you have to do right by Mike. And that doesn't mean you can't trade him, but it means that like, it's just important to like, when you're trying to recruit guys like that, Mike Conley, like the best guy in the league or whatever, doesn't go back and be like, hey, they bleeped me over. They totally like ended my career how I didn't want. Like, so you just gotta, and I think they'd not have a problem with that, but it'd be about trying to find the right type of player in that range. And then the next guy is Rob Dillingham at $6.5 million. If you're looking to get up to like $8 million salary, you could do it by just attaching any one of, like, if Joe Ingles is willing to kind of be bought out and end his career, he could attach his salary. Or if you're kind of willing to give up on Leonard Miller's team option next year, you could attach his salary as well. Wouldn't have a problem getting up
also
to
convert Juzang to a full contract and throw his salary in there.
So
like there's different things that they're going to be able to do to make money work.
But what I
in that range,
what I've kind of heard, and this makes sense, is I don't think they want to trade Rob for just an expiring contract, basically only converting his value into someone that was only giving you value this year. I think they want to trade someone that you can get, someone that will give you value, obviously, at the end of this year, but you have them under contract next year where you can either trade them, retain them, all that sort of fun stuff. Like the guys in Chicago are going to be a name there. Jose Alvarado, that doesn't really move me much. You just need one more player. Like their current roster, I think you need a seventh guy in the rotation, and it probably I don't know whether it's a wing or a guard. I think that's what you kind of got to target. Like Chicago's got a couple guys, Kobe White, and now Trey Jones is hurt. That probably ends that a little bit, but Kobe White would make sense. I believe Kobe White's contract would require Mike going out, but would also be a player that would give you solid value and be, I believe, under contract past this season. But I think the Wolves, assuming Giannis is not on the table or that doesn't work, I think I would be pretty surprised if they aren't trading Dillingham or Mike to find a player that fits this roster better, that gives you the seventh guy out of your rotations, so you're not the Lakers of last season where you're playing the same guy, 5 guys a whole second half.
Finch would do that though, and Finch would do that though, guys, and then we would get the very wholesome quote of like Cheryl Reeve being like, "Hey, he's just like me." I mean, I just brought up like the Basketball Reference just salaries, and like when you're going from like, let's say it's under 11, right? Like Luke Kennard, Atlanta's probably not moving him. TJ McConnell, I would kind of assume, the Pacers are going to be competitive and have a good pick next year. Like McConnell's a guy I think they hang on to. Lonzo Ball, maybe, now that they have Schroeder, maybe they're more willing to get him out of there, but they're second apron, so that complicates things. I mean, it's not a very like inspiring list of like guys that are going to come in and make like a massive impact. Like Buddy Hield, I think could be a good fit here, but that would be the Warriors have to give up on Buddy Hield. Kyle Anderson might get bought out, like
that'd be a really nice for the rest of the regular season. If Kyle Anderson got bought out and the Wolves were able to, that'd be a really nice addition. That wouldn't cost you anything.
Ty Jerome, who we saw tonight, just signed a I think he would fit, like, but why would Memphis trade Ty Jerome on the first year of a new deal? Quentin Grimes, like Philadelphia is now competitive. Why would they trade Quentin Grimes for Rob Dillingham?
Paul George just got suspended. They probably need him.
I mean, that is true. Paul George is now gone for 25 games.
Speaking of sneaker reporter, that's his guy
from Utah, like
Iowa State guy. Yeah.
Like I don't hate Yang, but like, is he going to play playoff minutes? It's really tough to find a guy in that like pay range that would actually make like a noticeable difference for the Wolves. And I think that's what's so hard about it is if they're going to trade Rob, they need to feel like they're getting value for him, because if you trade Rob, to your point, for an expiring, that expiring just walks. And then you've just completely blown the asset. Like now your 8th overall pick salary slot and the asset that is Rob is just gone. You can't just trade him for anybody. And then if you're trading the Mike one, you're right. Like I would say I would be in the shocked category if Mike gets traded. Doesn't mean it won't happen. Just like a Giannis trade could happen. NBA is weird, but like, he means so much to this team. And then he is at that twilight of his career now where it's like, you're only trading him so he can reroute to a different contender to be a bench leader guy, or so that he can go back to like Memphis. Or I don't think he has like this strong attachment to Indiana. He's from Indianapolis, but like it would have to make sense for him, which is really difficult to figure out. Other than that, it's probably a buyout guy. And like, we can go through the history of buyout guys.
There's a reason they get bought out.
Yeah. They normally don't make a big impact in the playoffs, which it might just be that this Wolves team has 6.5 guys, which there have been teams that win a championship with 6.5 guys, but I think it would take another like leap of ant from like the 6th best player to like the 2nd or 3rd best player. And you can't rule it out, but at the same time, the dude's 24 going on 25. Like it's hard to expect him to take another insane leap, right?
Yeah. I mean, from a regular season standpoint, Ant is clearly behind like the current healthy top 4. Like you mentioned, I think the team is currently constructed is just going to have a really hard time winning 3 straight Western Conference playoff rounds.
Agreed.
Adding a solid guard behind it, I think would help a ton and give you a lot more punch off the bench. I mean, we see it kind of with minutes now, like the minutes to start the 2nd or 4th quarter, they just don't really have a lot of scoring out there without Ant and Julius. And even we've seen Julius up and down. He was pretty solid in the playoffs last year. Kyle Anderson would help more defensively than I think Kyle Anderson would help those non-Rudy minutes a lot. That's what they used to do back then. He would kind of play point guard offensively and center defensively. I think Slomo would help a lot. We'll see if Utah obliges there.
He's also the most professional. Like I feel like some of these easier games you're going to get juice from Kyle no matter what, which
although Joe's in his spot in the locker room. Joe's got his locker. So that'll be that'll have to be a discussion.
Yeah. Is anyone number 1? I don't think so. He could have his number back. So that's something at least. I'm trying to think what locker is open. They'd probably,
well, you're trading.
Just give him Rob's, put him in between Mike and Bones.
Yeah. I mean, well, there's literally an open locker with no one's name on it right this second. So that'd be the first spot. I'd have to go look at where specifically that is, but like they have a 15th open roster spot. In theory, they got to have 18 lockers in the locker room, because that's the max number of players plus 2 ways you can have. So,
yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fun trade deadline. I do think Wolves fans, everyone is right to have their anxiety, whether it's we're going to get Giannis, holy crap, that's insane, or who's going to get shipped out, because I think like one of the really refreshing things I think from this Wolves team is there are really no leaks like that. I mean, other than John, I think everybody else in the Wolves press kind of has the same vibe of what's going on. And it's going to be fun because it could happen at any moment, which again, selfishly, I want Jaden to retire a Wolf. Delightful human being, but it's hard to argue if Giannis is coming to town. Brian, I do want to give you space though. Anything you want to shout out? Where can people find you? I hear you have a lovely podcast as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can check out my writing at CanisHoopus.com over on SB Nation. And then my podcast with Leo Sun and a rotating group of guests. I went solo after the Oklahoma City game just because the last week was pretty stressful mental health wise. So I just went with the easy route of spewing my thoughts on pretty similar of what we just talked about. But 2 words, Wolves Pod is where you can find me. And then follow me at R Eichten, my first initial last name, on socials.
Awesome, Ryan. I appreciate you coming on. We'll be back on Monday with Matt from the Daily Wolves. And I mean, it's starting to come to crunch time where if the Wolves are going to do what they do historically, they put themselves all the way up against the wall and then they rattle off 12 wins and make us all kind of look dumb for doubting them. But that's probably on the horizon. Ryan, I appreciate you again. Everyone who is tuning in, this pod does get released the following day at 7 a.m. If you care to listen to it, it is wherever you find your podcast. If you don't want to wait until 7 a.m. and you came in a little late, this goes on YouTube and on X at The Missing Wolves and at A Duke, Minnesota, as soon as we're done recording here. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll catch you after the next Grizzlies game.